The Super Bowl halftime show did not begin as a spectacle. It did not begin as a pop concert, a global music moment, or a cultural event in its own right. It began as something far more ordinary, a way to fill time. When the first Super Bowl was played in January of 1967, the halftime show followed the traditions of American football at the time. Marching bands took the field, drill teams performed. The entertainment was rooted in pageantry, not celebrity. The assumption was simple: fans were there for the game. Halftime was a pause, not a destination. For years, that assumption held. Through the late 1960s and into the 1970s, Super Bowl halftime shows were modeled after college football traditions. Bands from universities performed elaborate formations. Themed performances featured patriotic imagery, cultural tributes, or large scale choreography involving hundreds of performers. The shows were earnest, colorful, and largely interchangeable. They were not designed to compete with the game itself. Television networks did not treat halftime as a ratings battleground. Viewers were expected to step away, grab food, or talk about the first half. The halftime show was background noise, pleasant but not essential. That approach continued into the 1980s. Shows during this period often featured groups like Up With People, a musical organization known for upbeat, family friendly performances. These shows emphasized positivity, unity, and broad appeal. They were safe, they were wholesome, and they were largely forgotten as soon as the second half kicked off. At the time, that was acceptable, but something was changing beneath the surface. By the late 1980s, television competition had intensified. Networks were fighting for attention in ways they hadn't before. Cable television expanded options. Viewers were no longer captive. If halftime didn't interest them, they could change the channel. That reality forced a question the NFL had never seriously considered: what if halftime mattered? The first major shift came in the early 1990s. In 1991, the halftime show featured New Kids on the Block, one of the most popular pop acts of the moment. It was a signal, subtle but important. But the NFL was experimenting with mainstream music as a way to keep viewers engaged. But the true turning point came 2 years later. In 1993, Michael Jackson took the Super Bowl halftime stage. Nothing about that performance was accidental. The NFL had noticed that during previous Super Bowls, competing networks would air special programming during halftime, pulling viewers away. In 1992, Fox aired a live episode of In Living Color, and it succeeded in siphoning audience share from the Super Bowl halftime show. That was unacceptable to the league. Michael Jackson was the counterpunch. His performance was not just a concert, it was a statement. Jackson stood motionless for nearly 2 minutes at the start of the show, letting anticipation build. The crowd screamed. Cameras lingered. The moment felt electric. When the music began, the halftime show became something new. For the first time, halftime rivaled the game itself in cultural importance. Viewership actually increased during the halftime show rather than declining. The performance proved that halftime could be an event, not an intermission. From that moment on, the Super Bowl halftime show was transformed. The NFL realized it was sitting on one of the most powerful stages in entertainment. Over 100 million viewers live at the same moment. No commercial break, no skipping, no second screen. A shared experience unlike almost anything else. The league began treating halftime as a crown jewel. The rest of the 1990s built on that foundation. Big name artists followed: Diana Ross, Gloria Estefan, Boys II Men. Each show became more polished. Production values increased. The idea of halftime as a major booking opportunity took hold, but with scale came risk. In 2004, the halftime show featuring Janet Jackson and Justin Timberlake became infamous for reasons unrelated to music. A brief wardrobe malfunction during the performance sparked massive controversy, regulatory backlash, and cultural debate. The fallout was immediate and lasting. The NFL became more conservative in its halftime choices. Rock acts dominated the next several years: Paul McCartney, the Rolling Stones, The Who, Bruce Springsteen. These artists were seen as safe, respected, and unlikely to generate controversy. This era reestablished control, but it also refined production. Prince's performance in 2007 is widely regarded as one of the greatest halftime shows ever. Playing Purple Rain during an actual downpour, Prince delivered a performance that felt spontaneous, emotional, and iconic. It was proof that halftime didn't need spectacle alone, it needed authenticity. As the 2000s progressed, halftime shows became increasingly cinematic. Massive stages were built and dismantled in minutes. Lighting rigs, moving platforms, pyrotechnics, and coordinated choreography became standard. The halftime show evolved into a logistical marvel as much as a performance. Artists like Madonna, Beyonce, and Katy Perry turned halftime into theatrical events, costume changes, guest appearances, visual storytelling. The show was no longer just about songs, it was about moments. Social media amplified everything. By the 2010s, halftime performances were instantly dissected, shared, debated, and memeified. A single gesture could dominate headlines. A surprise guest could eclipse the game itself. The halftime show had become a cultural barometer. It reflected trends in music, identity, and politics. Beyonce's 2016 performance incorporated themes of black empowerment and sparked national conversation. Later shows featured nods to social justice, representation, and generational shifts in taste. In 2022, the halftime show, headlined by Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Eminem, Mary J. Blige, and Kendrick Lamar, marked another milestone. It centered hip hop, a genre long excluded from the Super Bowl's main stage, and acknowledged its role in shaping American culture. That show wasn't just entertainment, it was recognition. The 2020s pushed the halftime show even further into the realm of cultural commentary and global reach. Rihanna's performance during her pregnancy drew massive attention. The weekend's surreal staging blurred the line between concert and art installation. Viewership numbers climbed. In recent years, halftime shows have rivaled or surpassed the game itself in audience size. They have become the most watched musical performances in television history. Artists are not paid for their performances, but the exposure is unparalleled. Album sales surge, streaming numbers spike, careers are reshaped overnight. The halftime show is now both reward and risk. Artists are expected to deliver perfection under impossible conditions. Live broadcast, massive audience, limited time. Any mistake is magnified. Any triumph is immortalized. The NFL, meanwhile, walks a careful line. The league wants relevance without controversy, innovation without alienation, broad appeal without blandness. Every booking decision reflects those competing priorities. The halftime show has also become more global. Artists with international audiences are increasingly featured, reflecting the NFL's desire to expand its reach beyond the United States. Latin artists, global pop stars, cross genre collaborations. The show now speaks to a worldwide audience, not just American football fans. And yet, at its core, the halftime show still serves the same purpose it always has. It fills time. What has changed is the meaning of that time. Halftime is no longer a break from the game, it is a destination. For some viewers, it is the reason they watch it all. Parties pause, conversations stop, attention shifts. The Super Bowl halftime show has become a shared cultural ritual. It is one of the few remaining moments when millions of people experience the same thing at the same time. In a fragmented media landscape, that unity is rare. The show's history reflects broader shifts in entertainment itself. From communal experiences to individualized viewing, from passive consumption to active commentary, from tradition to reinvention. Looking back, it's easy to forget how modest the beginnings were. Marching bands, drill teams, patriotic displays. No one could have predicted that halftime would become a stage capable of redefining careers, shaping cultural narratives, and generating global conversation. But the evolution makes sense. The Super Bowl is the most watched event in American television. Over time, everything around it expanded to match its gravity. Commercials became mini movies, pregame coverage became a day long event, halftime followed the same path. Today, the halftime show is not just part of the Super Bowl, it is part of history. Each performance is layered onto the ones that came before it. Each artist is compared, ranked, debated. The show is studied, replayed, and remembered long after the final score fades. And the transformation is still ongoing. As technology evolves, as audiences change, and as culture continues to shift, the halftime show will adapt again. New genres will take the stage, new conversations will emerge, new moments will define eras, but the through line remains. The Super Bowl halftime show is a mirror. It reflects who we are, what we value, and how we gather. It began as filler, it became spectacle. And now it stands as one of the most powerful cultural stages in the world, not because of football, but because of attention. And as long as the Super Bowl commands attention, halftime will remain one of the rare moments when the world stops, looks up, and watches together.